As one expert recently warned, the line between incident response and incident creation is now blurred. That's a crisis of trust. It's at the heart of cybersecurity. Welcome back to CyberSecureOT, your essential digest of cyber developments in the critical infrastructure delivered to you week after week. I'm your host, Dennis Hackney. This week, I'm not just reporting the news, I'm analyzing each activity that I report on, from state-sponsored destruction in Eastern Europe to a scandal rocking the very foundation of incident response and trusting our third parties. I'm going to be using my core methodology to help explain how to improve your program related to each of these activities. I'll examine the reason why these events matter to every operator and how you can use a strong defense framework to prepare in your own organization. Here's a summary of the week's highest stakes cyber activities facing our critical infrastructure, CI. First is state-sponsored sabotage. I investigate the destructive cyber war raging in Ukraine, where state-backed hackers are now prioritizing wiping data and disrupting critical economic sectors like the grain industry. Second, the trust crisis. I dissect the shocking indictment of incident response professionals who allegedly moonlighted for the Black Cat Rust ransomware gang, exposing a catastrophic supply chain failure in cybersecurity itself. Third, CISA staffing shortfall. I look at the consequences of a government layoff and how that's impacting CISA, especially in the Stakeholder Engagement Division, and how that impacts vital threat intelligence sharing with critical infrastructure partners. And fourth, the cyber talent race. Finally, I look at how the Pentagon is tackling the talent crisis in releasing a revised plan to boost cyber mastery, from recruiting veterans to defending assets in space. Stay with me as I break down these activities, the implications for your critical infrastructure, and how to prepare for each event. The top story comes from the kinetic conflict zone in Ukraine. This is where the war has fully extended into cyberspace. This isn't just about espionage. It's about destructive, state-backed attacks aimed at dismantling Ukraine's core economic lifelines. The latest reports from ESET APT activity provides sobering details confirming that Russia-aligned APTs have escalated their campaigns with a specific focus on grain as well as energy sectors. APTs are advanced persistent threats. These are cyber criminals that hide in networks as long as they can, and typically they try to steal information. The report from ESET notes that the activities are stemming from the notorious Sandworm gang, which is known for the Black Energy Ukraine power grid outage back in 2016, and also from a gang called Gamaradon. Sandworm has been deploying multiple data wiping malware variants, including some called ZeroLot and Sting. These are against organizations in critical infrastructure. While at the same time, Gamaradon is currently the most active in cyber espionage targeting Ukraine. Espionage, just think of espionage as spying. That's where the word spy comes from. Sandworm's targeting of the agricultural sector, and specifically grain exporters, is a calculated strategic move. As the European Council notes, Ukrainian grain is vital to global food security and potentially equivalent to around $28 billion in annual exports. They are a top world exporter of grain. ESET researchers assess that the likely objective for deploying these new wipers was to weaken the Ukrainian economy. You can see how all the parts fit together. Meanwhile, the highly active group Gammaradon continues its aggressive campaigns to pinpoint the next economic disruption. As they find more information, other groups like Sandworm exploit it. They are increasing the intensity and the frequency. So as detection occurs, these organizations are seeing more and more Gammaradon spying activity. So what are the implications to our critical infrastructure, our CI? This is a red alert scenario for critical infrastructure around the world. We see where these techniques get developed in wartime efforts, and then they get exploited in other industries and other countries. The attacks demonstrate that cyber weapons can be used for sabotage on a global scale by disrupting food supply chains and also the commodity markets. So here we're seeing food and commodity markets in critical infrastructure. And these end in operational technology destruction. The direct targeting of these networks is taking down operational technology systems, and these are systems that include everything from energy and logistics. This confirms that threat actors have the capability and also the intent to cause physical disruption. So prioritizing the availability of these essential services is absolutely critical for any country or any organization. Here, it can be taken down. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to describe how an organization prepares using my CORE methodology. And CORE stands for cost-effective, operational, reliable, and efficient. This is a cybersecurity platform model. You don't have to take the advice. Please just hear me out. For organizations, especially those in energy and logistics, like our example in Ukraine, protection focuses on resilience, which includes CORE's inventory and detect practices. Starting with inventory, implement a comprehensive asset inventory of all your technologies, identifying where a technology sits in critical infrastructure, the sector, the region, the location, and the purpose. There are more attributes, but these will help you to identify what threats are acting against them. Also, I've identified something called the core 3 C's. These are confidentiality, criticality, and capability. Well, if you're a technology security professional, you might be familiar with confidentiality and criticality, but capability might be new to you. Capability describes whether or not a technology interfaces with the physical world, meaning it's connected or controls a piece of machinery. Because if it does, it has a physical impact. These characteristics will help identify potential targets in your inventory based on threat activity. Next, update your detect capabilities. Ensure that your continuous monitoring and anomaly detection systems are tuned to immediately identify uncharacteristic communications, but also I want to make sure that you can correlate that with your inventory characteristics. Think about this like the characteristics I mentioned earlier. The region, the critical infrastructure sector, the location, the type or the purpose of the system. Threat actors are looking for those things and they are attacking based off of that information. That's how they correlate. Once you've made these updates, your organization will be ready for decision-making, rapid decision-making when threats loom and this helps to prioritize remediation of those technology assets. In closing of topic 1, targeting a nation's grain is low, even for a state actor. Remember your digital perimeter. Protect your physical outputs. Don't let your grain silos get wiped like a hard drive. Topic 2, the incident response turncoats. This is a trust crisis. This is a stunning development that should make every organization question the integrity of its external security partners. The very professionals hired to help mitigate cyber disasters are now accused of participating in them. Federal prosecutors have indicted 2 security professionals and a conspirator, alleging that they moonlit for a ransomware gang. These individuals, including an incident response manager and a ransomware negotiator nonetheless, allegedly acted as affiliates for the notorious Black Cat ransomware as a service operation. Ransomware comes up often in my podcast. This is a service that people can purchase now where they can deploy encryption mechanisms to company hard drives and require a payout or a ransom before they'll decrypt them, leaving those hard drives and those computers useless and taking that company down until they pay them. Essentially, that's where the word ransom comes from, holding their data for ransom. Note, I want a special note here. Black Cat is famous for using the Rust programming language. It's a memory-safe programming language. This is a key signal that even the software that's used to exploit us and deploy ransomware is being deployed with good cybersecurity practices. That's chilling. Now, as for the indictment, prosecutors allege that these incident response pros used the Black Cat ransomware to commit a string of attacks. The targets included pharmaceutical companies, doctors' offices, and drone manufacturers. This demonstrates that the sophisticated, deeply corrupted specialization within ransomware as a service ecosystem is even in our trusted partners' networks. This internal betrayal validates warnings from reports like CrowdStrike's 2025 European Threat Landscape, which cautioned organizations to prepare for an environment of more coordinated ransomware state-backed cyber attacks. If you are in critical infrastructure, ransomware is probably going to be what brings you down. The implication here is an extreme supply chain risk. This is affecting the trust in our defender community. So first, with vendor compromise, most organizations must rely on external experts for incident response. This is because they are few and far between. They're very costly. It's hard to retain and pay them in-house. But if those experts are compromised, the critical infrastructure's most private data and vulnerabilities are handed directly to the adversary. Second, for insider threat, this incident highlights how professionals with legitimate access and knowledge can become the most effective and insidious attackers. Now, I'm going to use my core advice here. Focus on integrity and minimize reliance on unverified external access. Make your updates to your detection decision-making capabilities in order to do more of this in-house. It doesn't require the expertise if you have the data. CORE explains that a sound detection capability is tooled to handle initial triage and will have the evidence collection as aligned to technology characteristics in your inventory. All of the data about where the inventory exists and what the inventory does, what those assets do, will be in your inventory. Now, if you have a technology like an XDR, an extended detection and response software program, you can detect abnormal behavior and lateral movement, but not rely as much on the third parties for the decision making and the response. Because we're seeing that this is a prime source of data for ransomware as a service affiliates, regardless if they have a badge to enter your facilities or your systems or not. Organizations should pull that data back into the core program, making remediation decisions internally, taking that away from the third parties. This ensures that decision makers cultivate a solid trust in their internal detect teams. Using this core detect model, you build a superpower in your organization, and you limit the reliance on external firms until the absolute trust is established. In closing for topic 2, remember that the line between incident creation has blurred here. When dealing with cyber crisis, trust but verify and consider locking your virtual evidence room. On to topic 3, the staffing crisis at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the national security cost. Turning now to Washington, where the nation's lead civilian cyber defense agency is dealing with self-inflicted wounds, staffing cuts at CISA threaten its mission, just as threats seem to be peaking. Despite a court injunction to delay the cutbacks, CISA has stated that planned layoffs in its Stakeholder Engagement Division will proceed. CISA claims it has complied with the court's order because the firing of 54 people in its Stakeholder Engagement Division was planned beforehand and doesn't affect unionized employees. The court action stems from a lawsuit filed by the American Federation of Government Employees, AFL-CIO. As we proceed, you must understand that this division, called the Stakeholder Engagement Division, is not a back office operation, hence its name. It's the vital hub for partnership, international affairs, and academic outreach. Layoffs in this division directly impact CISA's ability to facilitate information sharing between federal, state, local, and private sector organizations. The implications are negative. CISA is the backbone of the federal critical infrastructure defense plan. First, degraded intelligence. Reduced capacity means slower or less detailed threat intelligence sharing, leaving organizations blind to emerging state-level tactics. Remember, CISA is in the U.S., federal lifeline in operational technology cybersecurity. Second, a vulnerability in crisis. In a major national cybersecurity crisis, a weakened CISA is less capable of providing coordinated defense and recovery support, and that's to civilian organizations. There's no other cybersecurity group in our federal government that does that for civilian organizations. That's CISA. This forces every sector to bear a greater share of the national defense burden independently. By sector, I'm talking about critical infrastructure like energy or IT or even military and defense. Organizations must prepare for reduced federal support, determine where to obtain the best threat intelligence, and build enhanced internal resiliency. So here, I'm going to reiterate the core detect capability. The core detect capability in your organization should ensure a diverse set of threat intelligence sources in coordination with the MITRE attack modeling. MITRE attack modeling is adversaries, tactics, and techniques, common knowledge data source. This is a reference that can be used to develop signatures and indicators of compromise. And core says that you can align this with the attributes in your asset inventory, such as critical infrastructure, the type of technology, region, etc. This allows any organization to build its detection tooling, including indicators of compromise around asset inventory and threat modeling, regardless of where they receive that intelligence from. So while CISA might become a bottleneck as we move forward, organizations may still join and participate in other types of threat intelligence groups. Examples are called Information Sharing and Analysis Centers, or ISACs, and they're typically industry-based. So wrapping up topic 3, cutting staff from the agency built to protect our infrastructure is like canceling your flood insurance right before a hurricane. I hope CISA remembers to at least update their out-of-office message. Now moving into our final topic, topic 4. This is on a positive note. The Pentagon cyber talent race is them mastering both talent and Earth-to-orbit technologies. Our final segment is on a positive note for the good guys, exploring the military's strategic response to global cyber threats. We feature a massive push to upgrade human talent and also to secure the ultimate high ground, space. The Pentagon has released a revised plan focused on achieving domain mastery and boosting its cyber talent. This is a necessity given the escalating threats from peer nations, such as those we've mentioned earlier. Key to this strategy is establishing 2 new organizations. The first organization is a cyber talent management organization. They are to identify, attract, recruit, and retain an elite cyber force. And the second is an advanced cyber training and education center. Now, their mission is to develop training and education to build cybersecurity expertise and also mastery. Adding to the talent pipeline, colleges and universities are helping U.S. military veterans transition their skills in fighting wars to fighting cyber criminals. It's a fantastic use for all of these great minds. In addition to the talent pool, the defense focus has also extended to the space domain. There is an active race to defend satellites from cyber attacks, and some of this work is being done with large consulting organizations such as Deloitte. As an example, payloads will be used to test whether satellites can defend themselves. Advancements in protecting our satellites from cyber attacks are critical because these systems not only provide you with a way to communicate, but they also provide all of critical infrastructure with a timing source, including vessels on the ocean, ships, and also critical infrastructure and data centers, etc. This is very important to ensure that we do not have a global disruption due to a cyber attack against satellites. Disrupting these information infrastructures would lead to a massive socioeconomic crisis. You might ask, what are the implications for critical infrastructure? Military cyber advancements provide a vital security umbrella for the civilian population. A dominant U.S. Cyber Command acts as a powerful deterrent against major nation-state attacks that would normally or otherwise target our civilian infrastructure companies. So a powerful cyber military would help to deter nation states from attacking even civilian companies in the United States because they would see them as a shield. And securing satellites is directly critical, as GPS and communication satellites provide essential timing and data used by all sectors, including finance, energy, and transportation. Now, leveraging the CORE program. This program focuses on a military-grade concept. So those who are familiar with military-grade cyber defense, cybersecurity are going to recognize that in CORE. These concepts include talent and the enhancement and the fully integrated Security Operations Center. This fully integrated Security Operations Center creates a cyber superpower at the core of any organization. And this can be used for inventorying your assets, detecting anomalies, making informed, quick prioritization decisions, and then remediating any of those activities that took place with the best possible information and data available. Remember, that's cost-effective, operational, reliable, and efficient. Those are the premises. So in wrapping up our last topic, we saw where the Pentagon is going from boots on the ground to bits in orbit. If your defense is good enough for a satellite, it's probably good enough for your power plant. Okay, keep mastering your domain. And that brings us to the end of this week on CyberSecureOT. I covered a lot of ground today, from destructive wipers targeting Ukraine's grain industry to a staggering betrayal of trust in our own incident response community. The message is clear. Cybersecurity is no longer a technology program. It's an economic, political, and physical security problem. So what did we learn from all this? Ensure your inventories are complete and include technology capabilities. Ensure your detection capabilities don't completely rely on that consultant who drives a brand new sports car on your dime. And if the Pentagon is worrying about defending satellites, you should probably worry about making remediation decisions like a boss. Stay vigilant, stay secure, and remember, the bad guys don't take a vacation, and neither should your cybersecurity program. Before you sign off, here's your call to action. Review your vendors. If segment 2 concerns you, immediately review your vendor access lists and conduct a thorough risk assessment on all third-party security providers. And if you like what you heard about CORE today in my podcast, you can find out more at cybersecureot.info. That is my website, and on that website you will find articles. In those articles, I have written about CORE's inventory and categorization, CORE's remediate process for devices, components, and networks, the CORE decision-making process, which helps you to prioritize your decisions like a boss, and it really focuses on things that can get exploited versus just a random risk calculation. And also detection capabilities, how to actually detect things based off of the information that you put in your inventory and external threat intelligence. All of that can be found along with some videos that explain those as well on my CyberSecureOT. Please join me next week for more news in cybersecurity for critical infrastructure.